What's up guys, Billy here, and today we're going to be going over 5 tips and tricks for the Phantom 4 series of drones. Now these are some very small but useful hints that you may not use every single time you go out and fly your drone, but really aren't mentioned anywhere across YouTube or the internet for that matter, so I figured I'd make a video compiling them all together. The first tip has to do with the remote controller, and we're going to specifically look at the joysticks. Now you'll notice they are screwed on, which means you can fully take them off if you wanted to, but also allows you to change the height of the joystick. The higher you go, the greater range of motion you'll have, which leads to better control of the drone. Now side by side, it's not the biggest difference in the world, so you can always buy accessories that go on the actual joysticks themselves to raise it up even higher, but this little trick will allow you to fine tune the height and get the most control from your drone. The next tip is one that I try to include in every single video, as you can do this for any DJI drone. If you have a Spark, if you have a Phantom 4, Phantom 4 Pro, Phantom 4 Advanced, or even a Mavic, this is something that you can do to check the firmware or even downgrade the firmware of your drone. So right now I am on my iPhone 7 Plus and I am also connected via a cable to the Phantom 4 Pro itself. Sorry if you can hear the buzzing in the background. But anyway, what you want to do is hold the 3 lines in the top right corner of the DJI Go 4 app for 5 or more seconds. So right now I've been holding it for about 6 seconds. I'm going to let go and you'll notice that this menu pops up, and within here we can choose any of the different firmware versions that we want to go back to or even upgrade to. So as of right now there's only one available because of the mandatory firmware update. It hasn't been updated since, so it's not going to give us the previous firmware updates obviously, but if you guys want to, you can go ahead into here and make sure that your drone is on the latest firmware or downgrade the firmware if you need to. One thing I forgot to mention is you can do the same exact thing for the remote controller. All you need to do is plug in like usual with your mobile device, and then from there hold those 3 lines in the top right corner and the same screen will pop up, allowing you to downgrade the firmware or make sure you're on the most up-to-date firmware. This next tip is going to be something I'm sure a lot of Phantom 4 series owners are already familiar with, but if you're someone who isn't aware of this yet, it might be a holy shit moment. So anyway, if you own the Phantom 4 Advanced or Phantom 4 Pro, you'll know that you can actually set the focus of that camera by either using autofocus or manual focus. If you have the original Phantom 4 with its smaller camera, that's going to be set to an infinity focus, so you don't have to actually worry about this. But anyway, using manual focus or autofocus is kind of a pain, and you can always use AFC, autofocus continuous, which will always make sure that the drone is in focus. But if you want to, you can also half press the shutter button on the back, sort of like a DSLR camera, to actually focus the image. So right now I've got peak focus threshold on, and I've totally thrown the focus out of whack by using manual focus. I switched over to autofocus, and now when we half press the shutter button, we'll notice that the drone actually focuses in, which is a super helpful tip. Also, if you guys have the Mavic, you know you can bind this to the C button. On the Phantom 4 series, you're actually not able to bind it to the button on the back, one of the customizable buttons, as there's already a predefined button just by half pressing the shutter button. Now these final 2 tips are very situational, but it's a combination of button presses and different actions to do on the controller to actually bring up a certain function on the drone, if that makes sense. So anyway, if you guys want to go and calibrate the compass of your drone, you can sift through the menus, find the sensors, go and hit calibrate compass, but what you can also do is take your remote and take the little switch that switches from PSA and just flip it back and forth from P and S about 12 or 14 times. To be honest, I just kind of go ham back and forth until I see those yellow flashing lights on the back of the drone, and then from there, you're able to calibrate the compass. Now this is very helpful because I'm not going to lie, the calibration button is kind of dug in there into the menus, it's kind of buried away. But if you guys want to, you can do this to quickly bring up the calibrate compass feature, and it's something I like to do before every single flight, so therefore, it's going to be a lot easier to calibrate the compass originally rather than digging through the menus. This final tip is going to allow you to bind the remote controller to your Phantom 4 series drone, and this can be done if for some reason they come disconnected, or maybe you get a brand new remote controller because your old one is broken or something and you need to bind it to your old existing drone. So anyway, the first thing that we need to do is turn on the remote controller and the drone itself. Now we can do this by going and digging through the DJI Go application and finding link controller, but I'm going to show you how to press some buttons together simultaneously, and then from there it's going to actually start the linking process. So picking up the remote controller, all we need to do is hit the C1, C2, and record button at the same exact time. And from here, we're going to hear 3 beeps. And then we're also going to see the status LED indicator at the bottom near the battery LED indicator turn to a blinking blue color rather than that solid red color. Now next up, we're going to head over to the drone, and right next to the micro SD card slot, there's a red LED indicator, which is actually a button. All we need to do is push that down and hold it for about 2 seconds, and then from there, we are good. The remote controller and the drone are linked. Anyway guys, that wraps up this tips and tricks video. If you guys own the Mavic or the Spark, I've made tips and tricks videos for those as well, which are up on the screen right now. If you want to click on them, you can be taken to that video. I've also included a little subscribe button right here in the middle, so if you guys aren't subscribed already, be sure to click the subscribe button to never miss a video. Anyway guys, hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, I'll talk to you later. Peace.